On July 12, 2006, Israel was pulled into a war with the Hezbollah terrorist organization in Lebanon. For 34 days, northern Israel became a war zone. While the army was fighting inside Lebanon, citizens throughout Israel's north were suffering from massive attacks of Katyusha rockets being fired at the civilian population. Citizens ran for cover in their neighborhood shelters, only to find them dilapidated and uninhabitable. Many did not have running water, electricity, or working bathrooms.
As we saw the enormous human crisis unfolding in Tzfat, Livnot decided to step in. Many organizations were donating food for the city of Tzfat, but there was nobody to distribute that. Our volunteers would take the food and go from home to home, from shelter to shelter, and distribute the food. In addition, anybody who needed medication, we would go get the medication. Every night we would go and visit the soldiers in the hospital. Many of those soldiers, their family were too scared to come to the war zone in Tzfat. And we became their friends, their family. We even took care packages to the soldiers that were coming out of Lebanon by the Lebanese border.
In Tzfat, 70% of the bomb shelters were long neglected and unfit for use. Many were burned, blocked off by trash and debris, flooded by water, and some even had the remains of dead animals.
This bomb shelter was totally unusable. It was full of garbage and waste products from 25 years of not being used. We have 70 families in this building that had to be stuffed into the other bomb shelter. There was no room for people. There were people that just preferred to stay in their own homes and risk being hit, and they were in definite danger. The bombs felt very close to these buildings.
פה נפלה קטיושה, לא ידענו איפה מסוכן, או בבית או במקלט עם החולדות.
Once the war was over and we realized the extent of the problem of all those dreadful bomb shelters, Livnot had to step in. There was no one else who was doing anything about that. Livnot hired 24 professionals. We recruited hundreds of volunteers and started fixing the shelters one by one.
The physical condition of the shelters was only one aspect of the problem. The emotional trauma to those who were huddled in damp, unlit, stifling underground shelters was also a major concern.
הקטיושה נפלה פה, ופתאום נשמע מין בום ועשן, ואני הייתי מאחורה והרסיסים אחריי, ומאז עד היום הילדים שלי בפחד, מרטיבים והם בטראומה. לרדת למקלט, אי אפשר לרדת, מקלט מוזנח, מסריח, בלי מזגנים, מה הביאו לנו? רק מזרונים וחולדות בשפע היה לנו, וברחנו משם והתחלנו לישון תחת המדרגות. בגלל שלא היה מים ולא היה איפה להתקלח ולא היה איפה לשתות ואיפה להתפנות, לא יודעת מה, היינו עולים הביתה, היו תופסים אותנו מתחים, היינו צריכים לרדת עוד הפעם למקלט עם הילדים שלנו לפה.
Army experts tell us that the best way to keep a shelter ready for war is to use it during peacetime. In Kiryat Shmona, we have an ongoing project that is funded by the UJA Federation of New York. After Livnot renovates the shelter, we hired a community coordinator, and the purpose is to run activities in those shelters to strengthen the community. We have ceramic classes, an English library, we have a karate class. In other cities, we're relying on individual donors and organizations to come and help fund our efforts.
Taking this bomb shelter and turning it into a therapeutic activity room is not only making it a useful environment, but it's taking the place of stress, and this bomb shelter is now the place of their building of strength, of their building of inner security, and the kids have decided, gee, if the war starts, we can continue our chug. We don't have to run any place because we're in the safest place.
Now, Livnot has come in with their volunteers guided by professionals, and they are turning our Miklat into a wonderful, not just usable, but pleasant place, which we hope we will be using also for classes for children and other community purposes.
אנחנו שמחים שהגורמים שטיפלו בעניין לקחו מקום כמו מקלט שגורם לחץ וחרדה ותחושה לא נעימה בקרב ציבור וילדים, והפכו אותו למקום נעים שמשרת אותם לפעילות חיובית ושכיף להם לבוא לפה.
We've already fixed more than 100 shelters, but during the war, more than 1 million people needed an adequate shelter. In many cases, shelters are still in the same condition as they were during the war.
Hezbollah is rearmed on Israel in the north of Israel, and they will come to be a big threat in the near future.
It's clear to us in Israel that there will be another round of war in the north. We are now in a race against time to try to get as many shelters fixed as possible.
Livnot has been there for the Jewish people since 1980, helping to integrate new immigrants into Israeli society, changing the lives of poverty-stricken Israelis by renovating more than 2,000 homes and helping victims of Arab terror. Today, Livnot is the thread bringing Israel's northern communities together. Livnot stepped in because of the great need and no one to address it. Join Livnot's efforts to bring security to Israel's northern citizens. In the Second Lebanon War of 2006, 43 Israeli civilians were killed by Hezbollah's rocket fire, and more than 4,200 were injured. Your generous, immediate support is crucial for Livnot to repair and make usable thousands of life-saving bomb shelters before the next war.